All right, hello and welcome. This video is all about improving your cadence and unlocking speed and making running feel easier on the body with better mechanics. And the reason that I'm sharing this video is because I am seeing a common theme from some athletes on the team where they've got low cadences, 165, 160, even some people down in the 150s or low 150s. And with that low of a cadence, running is extremely clunky. It's very difficult to generate speed. And I'm seeing that a lot of athletes are understanding the concept of the easier zone 2 runs, right? Like we can check down the effort, make running easier. But the next evolution of developing as a runner is really unlocking better body mechanics with the use of intentional speed work. So not just speed work for the sake of running fast, but speed work for the sake of improving form and mechanics and making the whole running process a lot easier on the body and unlocking a ton of speed in the process. And I have a great comparison here that I'm going to run through on my year-over-year run progress. So video on the left, this was a run gait analysis that I did in February of 2023. And the video on the right, this is a run that I was out doing in Boulder in February of 2024. And I was struggling with a lot of the same things that I'm seeing athletes on the squad struggle with. So I'm just going to get into what I had going on, how I unlocked some progress, and then the crossover lessons that apply to general athletes on the team. So video on the left, this was February. This was a couple of months after Ironman Florida 2022. And Ironman Florida 2022 was my third Ironman, and I still could not crack the 4-hour mark on the marathon. And the same thing was happening in all of my long runs. My fitness felt fine, but my body felt like it was breaking down. And I specifically always had a ton of pain right in the front of my hips. So right in my hips here, I would just get like this jolting pain, and I would be like, I can run faster if I just try harder, but I feel like I'm basically blocking myself in some way. So I went in, got this run gait analysis, and instantly we unlocked a ton of things that I was doing wrong and revealed a lot of opportunity for progress. So I'm gonna just go ahead and play this real quick, and then I'll start dragging back through it here. So first thing that we really noticed here was, bring it back to kind of a plant position. So the first thing that stuck out was that I am landing with quite a straight leg. I'm doing a good job of landing generally underneath my center of mass, but I'm just like super vertical here, right? And I'm also bouncing up and down a lot. So I'm moving a lot up and down. I'm not moving a ton forward, and I'm super vertical here. Now, this immediately revealed why I was having a lot of that front hip pain. And that was because without a really big knee bend here, right, very limited bend, I'm not really able to engage my calf, my quads, my hammies, my glutes. And so the muscle groups in my lower body aren't really activated as much as they can be. And so the force of each stride is basically going up the kinetic chain from joint to joint to joint. From the ankle to the knee to the front of the hip. Boom, the front of my hips hurt. So the first thing that we wanted to change here was getting me more of that forward drive, right? And the other concept that really stuck out from this straight leg landing is that in a very real sense, I was running with the brakes on. Like every time that I land here, I'm getting a jolt of impact force from the ground coming up and basically blunting each joint from the ankle to the knee to the hip. And in order to stop running with the brakes on, like that concept really stuck out to me, I needed to get more forward knee drive and more overall muscle engagement. I got a couple of notes here on the side that I'm going to reference as well. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything. So the main idea here, low cadence is, and at the time I had a cadence of about 160. 160 to 162 was my standard cadence here. And so with that low cadence, running is heavy, running is clunky, and that ground contact time is higher per stride, right? If you're taking, let's use some extreme examples. If you're taking 200 steps per minute, all of those steps are on the ground for less time than if you're taking 100 steps per minute, right? The total minute is still the same, but the steps are different. And when you have more steps, it means each step is on the ground for less time, which means that you're absorbing less force, right? And it's making it easier for your body. The straight leg, no muscle engagement, the joints were bracing the force of each impact, too much vertical movement, too little forward movement. And then the last concept here was that I was really not pushing a lot of power out the back, right? And so when I'm looking, let me just see me going through here, like, you know, that's like my most aggressive position, and I'm not really able to generate a lot of force out the back. And force out the back is the number one way, like that's how we can improve our speed, by just pushing more out the back of the stride. Rather than a lot of times people are running like a cartoon character and they're like getting their turnover a lot faster out in front, thinking that that's making them go faster. And in some type of much harder effort, that can happen, but it's not the way that you can like efficiently run faster without just automatically working way harder, right? So the main cue, kind of bouncing around here, but the main cue that we worked on with me coming out of this run gait analysis was more forward knee drive. And the cue that the PT gave me was thinking about your knees as arrows. So not like choppier in the sense that your knees are pumping up and down more and going more vertical, but your knees as arrows, going more forward, right? Almost getting a little bit of oblique engagement here in the lower abdomen to really slice that knee forward. And then if you compare the sliced knee forward, knees as arrows, with the idea of power out the back, now all of a sudden we're completely correcting all of that vertical movement, right? I had too much vertical movement in the beginning, right? And so instead of going up and down with no power out the back, I am going forward and backwards with power out the back and knees driving forward. So those were really the overall themes. And I was really pumped because I worked on this extremely intentionally throughout the entire year. And this run on the left really shows that I had made some good progress. Go through the whole thing here. So the first thing that I'll call out is look at my plant position here. Other thing I'd call out is that I've been doing strength training all year. My legs are looking a lot more muscular than on the left side here. Let's clear out all these things and let's get a direct side-by-side on cadence and on overall body position here. So, right, look how much more bent my knee is in this video on the right compared to the video on the left. Look how much more engaged my muscles are. My legs are a bit more jacked in the video on the right, but I got complete recruitment here, right? Let's just get a direct, let's see how we can get this thing going. Might not be exactly perfect, but boom. That says it's 147 angle. Let's see what we got here. And that's 160, 159 or something like that, right? And these are just general estimates, but you can see that it's more bent, right? The angle is sharper. Which also, as we're gonna drag through here, like look at this knee drive. So look at this knee drive right here. Boom. Back and drive. Now let's compare it to this, right? So right here, I don't have nearly as much drive, and also I'm doing this swing motion with my foot. So you'll see that my knee will get out to, let me clear all this shit out actually. My knee is gonna get out to the furthest that it'll go. So this is about the furthest, right? It's right behind that thing, but that's about the furthest it'll go. And then I shift into this swing, right? So that swing, I see this a lot. And we want to avoid this because this is then the swing is setting up the plant that is extremely vertical. And then again, I'm too up and down, and I'm not then sending power out the back, right? You can almost just see this whole thing happening in real time here. And you can see, even look at my head. It's completely bobbing up and down out of the frame here. So some knee drive, but not as much as I want. It reaches that peak, and this is even a good side-by-side. Like, look how much farther out. Clear that. Look how much farther out from my body that knee is. This video is slightly behind me, so that's slightly adding to it, but you get the same idea, right? It's the knee is hiked up even a little bit more compared to this video on the left. And then let's look at my plant position. So look at this. This is the knee drive, and there's not that swing really at all. So instead of the knee stopping and then the foot swinging, right, there's a little bit of that swing, of course, because the foot has to come forward, but it's much more of the knee getting all into position and the foot coming along with it. And then the foot goes down, and then the foot plants. Now, I've been talking about cadence this whole time. I know that in this video on the right, my cadence is at about 175. And in the video on the left, my cadence is 160 to 162. So let's also see if we can get a sync here. Let's see, link videos, and let's just see. So you can see how much more rapid I'm stepping. Let's see if I can back this. Where's the part? So right about here is the plant, right? So you can see side by side, my body position is a lot more aggressive, right? I'm much more like that compared to that. The angle here is a lot more open compared to that angle there. And then let's just look at, so we come in on the ground together, and then let's look at how much faster the feet start turning over. Even in just a couple of strides, we should be able to see this. So that was just like 2 or 3 strides, and we can already see that my right leg is now down and bracing my body weight, and I'm already about to be pushing power out the back, and on the left side here, I haven't even touched the ground. Right, so now I'm back into the ground position on the left, and I'm already pushing power out the back on the right. This little foot bend is also a good indication, like I'm generating force right there. So these are the overall things. If you are somebody who, if your cadence is down in the 150s or the 160s, we want to get it up to at least 170. If you Google online, it'll say, 180, but that's not necessarily where everybody needs to be. Just above 170 up to 175 is great. And the way that we can do this is with intentional track work, being intentional on the speed work that I give you guys. So if we're doing like 30-30s, like let's think about having the same kind of a cadence between the fast sets and then the slower sets. And let's think about just manipulating power out the back as the way that we are moving ourselves faster through the run, right? The faster speed work is because we've got more power out the back. The lighter, easier zone 1, zone 2 running, that just doesn't have that much force coming out the back, right? And we've got to have all these principles going on. We got to have the knees as arrows. Knees are slicing us forward, right? We're able to land with that more bent leg so that we can brace our weight, and engage our muscles, right? And not have all those joints. Like, here's the other thing. We're looking at me land here. Like, dude, this is totally, now that my weight's being bared there, this is totally saving the front of the hips, right, that I spoke about, because look at all the muscles that are engaged. The hammies are loving it. The quads, the calves, like they're all playing a role in this thing, and that is saving my ankle, my knee, and my hip. And the thing that I love most about this is that I was able to run faster if I wanted to in this video on the left, like at this time, but it was just more of a harder push, harder effort on the front end, right? I'm working way harder. I'm just fucking grinding myself to be able to run fast intervals. Whereas on the right, This is totally manipulated by power out the back. And of course, as I'm running faster, my body's working harder, my heart rate's gonna rise, but it's a lot more sustainable. And I'm not feeling that physical breakdown that I was totally feeling in the video on the left. Now, the final thing that I'll say here is that I've got some good time validation of all of this, because the video on the right, this was shortly after Ironman Florida 2023, and I had a 15-minute marathon PR. I had my best marathon ever in an Ironman, best marathon ever, period, huge PR, all as a result of working on all of these things throughout the year. So that's what I got for you. Any questions, come hit me up. Thanks for hanging out.